the show we've been putting off doing today on keeping you organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized, and today we're finally getting around to that show that we've been wanting to do, and that is a show on procrastination. And Debbie Rosemont, it's not your fault, it's mine. I've been kind of putting it off. Debbie joins us again, and Debbie, procrastination, what the heck is it? Do we have a definition for that?
Well, first of all, it's common, John, and yeah, my definition is it's that undesirable gap between when you intend to do something and when you actually act on it. So that gap between intention and action, like you said, put something off.
Now, has there been any research done on this that you know of why people procrastinate, or you know, what causes it?
Yeah, there's been a lot of research done, and when we talk about it, it'll sound pretty common sense, but the main reasons that people procrastinate are varied depending on, you know, what's at hand for them, but they can be boiled down to a few. And for some people, it is a matter of self-control, just being impulsive and wanting to do everything but the one thing that they have at hand. So, you know, for some people, they have a difficult time prioritizing and will act impulsively rather than according to a plan. That's one reason. Another, oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna just go ahead.
Well, another reason is related, and it's the shiny objects that can distract us. So we intend to do something, but we see, oh, look, squirrel, something else, and we're distracted by, again, something that might be more desirable or more interesting at the moment.
Well, Leanne, our producer, would probably accuse me of that quite a bit because, you know, it's just one of those things where it's easy to get distracted, isn't it?
Sure it is. And we have lots of great ideas, and we don't necessarily need to act on them, but a way to capture them, to do them later so that we can focus on our priority. Another reason people procrastinate is because they have a false belief that they work better under pressure. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. You know, it was common with students. They'll say, oh, well, you know, I'll put it off, I'll cram all night because I work better under pressure. And most people, that isn't the case. You know, they may get it done, but it might not be their highest quality of work or their best work had they given themselves more time.
Now, wasn't there a law about that where you, and this is probably made up too, where you get done what you have enough time to, or how's that go? There's the amount of time you have is what you have in order to get it done, or something like that, wasn't that?
Yeah, we're going to fill up the container that we're given. So
yes.
If we give ourselves 2 hours to do something that we otherwise could do in an hour, we'll probably fill up those 2 hours. It is an interesting phenomenon. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about maybe you have a client in the last few months or so that's had procrastination as an issue. Can you describe a situation like that, or maybe a common thing that you see with people either at home or at the office?
Yeah, you know, putting off a big project is an example. And, you know, for one client that I can think of, there were a couple things going on, and these are other reasons that people procrastinate. I think that she had a fear of failure. You know, I mean, there's the fear of, well, what if I can't do it? Then, you know, maybe I'll just put it off. And if I don't try, then I could be seen as lacking effort, but not lacking competence. So she needed to get over that. Another thing that was keeping her from moving forward on the project was lack of clear direction. So she didn't really know how to begin. She hadn't been given enough information on the project. So we had to, you know, have her go back to her boss and get some more information and gain some clarity, and that helped her get some traction going forward. Another reason that people will procrastinate, and I think this was her case also, is just that not looking forward to doing something because you think it might be dull or boring or interesting. So again, we'll be distracted by the shiny objects. So we need to find ways to make it more interesting.
You know, don't people sometimes too want to do like something that's mindless and either easy to do or it doesn't take any effort rather than doing something they know they should do? Is that another part of the phenomenon?
Well, it feels good to cross things off a list, right? So if you have a big daunting project in front of you, or a couple things that you can do quickly and cross those off your list, you'll probably gravitate towards those. So the key there is take that big project and break it down into smaller pieces that you can do in one sitting to be able to cross those off your list as well.
Now, you do a whole presentation on this. Why don't you give us the title of that and kind of what is entailed in that presentation?
Sure. Well, the presentation is called "What Are You Waiting For?" And it often follows another presentation we do where we talk about planning for success and goal setting. So there's been a couple companies locally here that we've gone in 1 month and done the plan for success presentation, and then come in a month later and followed it up with the "Well, what are you waiting for?" presentation, because people again have good intentions but don't always act on them. So in that presentation, we talk about what procrastination is and why it happens, and then we talk about what to do about it. And so it's usually pretty valuable and stuck from the reason that they're procrastinating.
Okay, so have we fully covered what it is and why it happens?
Well, there's one more that I want to talk about, and it's really the #1 reason that people procrastinate, and that's perfectionism. So a lot of perfectionists will put something off because they worry that they can't do it perfectly, so they won't get started, or they worry that they'll have errors, or that it just won't ever be really finished. So that can make it difficult to start something, and also can make it difficult to finish something. So a perfectionist might get going on something, but then to actually call it done and complete it, it's very difficult for them. In fact, it takes a perfectionist 50% of the time to get the last 5 to 10% of something finished.
Wow, I never heard that. You know, what I was thinking was going through my mind, and I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but was sometimes I think about, okay, well, I think this project's going to take maybe 3 hours. Well, maybe I only have an hour and a half, so I'm saying, well, I can't really do this because I got to get in the zone once I get started, and
right.
I need a block of time. Is that something that's common that you see?
It is, yeah, very. And again, it's difficult to sit and focus on something for 3 hours anyway, whether or not you had it available. So again, in this circumstance, I would say, well, what can we identify as pieces of the project that if you had an hour to do, or possibly even a half hour to do, that you could get in the zone just for that piece and bring it to completion?
Right. Now, do you ever struggle with procrastination at all? Is it something everybody does, or is it just a certain % of the people?
Oh, I think at times everybody procrastinates, and yes, I'm one of those as well for the same reasons. I'm a recovering perfectionist myself, so there's that, gosh, can I really do it the way I want to, or perfectly enough? I'm getting over that. But there's also the things I don't like to do. An example, I was working on finishing touches on a PowerPoint for a presentation I'm doing today, and I was working on that at the end of the workday yesterday, and that's not like me, but I don't love to create PowerPoint slides. I had the content all written. It was just finding the pictures and making sure it was aesthetically pleasing. So knowing that about myself, I should have delegated that to my assistant well before and not left it to the end myself.
Well, and you probably knew about this presentation months ago, right? Or at least a few weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So again, it was just something that I've been putting off. And, John, when I actually sat down to do it, putting those finishing touches, adding the photos, it didn't take very long. It wasn't that terrible. It's just something I had been putting off because I anticipated that it wouldn't be pleasant when I did it.
Okay, I've kind of been putting off now the idea of the how do we solve it? How do we do it? But before we do that, I am going to procrastinate just a little bit and take a quick little break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the how do we overcome it? How do we solve it? So we're with Debbie Rosemont from It's Simply Placed, and we'll be right back. I promise we're not going to stall. We're not going to procrastinate. We'll be back real quick. With the size of office and desk space shrinking, it's time to get creative when organizing. Introducing the Cascading Wall Organizer by Smead. The Cascading Wall Organizer saves desk space by utilizing often overlooked wall space. The 6 cascading pockets are removable to make viewing and accessing documents easy, while the elastic cord closure allows for security when transporting your files. With each pocket being able to hold 25 sheets of paper, that makes for a whole lot of storage right on your wall or door. No desktop space required. The clear front pocket is perfect for storing a calendar or small items that need to be accessed daily. This organizer is made from acid-free poly material, which makes it tear-proof and water-resistant. The Cascading Wall Organizer from Smead, keeping you organized. We are back now on Keeping You Organized, talking with Debbie Rosemont from It's Simply Placed. Debbie, we've been talking about procrastination, a subject that, people don't really want to talk about. They don't want to admit it, but I think we discovered before the break that everybody has a little bit of procrastination in them. So let's get into some of those steps on how do we overcome it? How do we get by it?
Sure. Number one, I think as much as possible, if we can eliminate distraction, that helps. So we talked about the shiny objects, and I think eliminating distraction in your workspace so that you can focus on something you need to work on includes clearing the clutter, maybe removing the candy dish that brings other people into the office that could be distracting to you. Really making a clear space where you can work focused on one thing at a time. So eliminating distraction is one thing.
Are you a proponent of closed door time, where maybe there's just a certain time in your day you block off and you say no interruptions, you don't answer the phone, you don't look at email, and you work for a little bit?
Absolutely. Again, as much as that is possible, not all day, but like you said, for a period of time during the day, either closing a door, or if that's not available to you, if you don't have your own office, if you can somehow signal to others that you're kind of doing heads down time and trying to focus, then they can let you be and not interrupt if they don't have to.
What about the distractions of email and cell phones and things like that? Because we're so connected, and we always sitting there looking at our phone or trying to get our email. Is there any way to kind of overcome that distraction?
Yeah, processing email periodically throughout the day instead of all throughout the day. So at set times, for example, or if setting up a reward can be a good motivator to get something done, to say, all right, in my example, I'm going to work on this PowerPoint presentation and I'm not going to check email until I'm done. So if it takes me an hour, I'm away from email for an hour. So I'm not interrupting myself, because if I am constantly flipping back to email as a means of distraction or procrastination, it will easily take me twice as long to get that work done.
Right. Okay, so we have try to remove the distractions. What's another way that we can overcome procrastination?
Gain clarity. And that's something I used in the example with my client, is that she just didn't have enough information to move forward. So who do we need to ask, or what research do we need to do? Although we don't want to use research as a form of procrastination, because some people will overanalyze and over-research just because they aren't ready to start writing or start working on something. But gaining clarity can be a big strategy in moving forward on something and feeling confident about it.
What are some ways that you can gain clarity? I mean, maybe with that client, or are there some tactical things that make it easy to, do you sit there and read something to yourself? What are ways that you suggest people gain clarity?
In her case, or in any case where something's been delegated to you, it was as simple as going back to that person who handed off the project and said, I need some more information. Tell me more about the direction you'd like to have this go. And, that's really a time-saving strategy, because besides making it so that she didn't procrastinate anymore and she could move forward on it, it also made it so that she was going down the right path rather than wasting time working on something going in the wrong direction. So that gaining clarity is a big one.
And we don't want to spend time reading people's minds. So,
yeah.
All right, what's next?
So there's that old adage of, how do you eat an elephant? And again, if we're procrastinating on something because it seems so big, we need to break it down. And the answer is one bite at a time, of course. So, you gave the example of a 3-hour project, and gosh, I don't know that I have 3 hours, or maybe I don't want to sit for 3 hours. So how do we break it down into what is the first step that I need to take? And can I break it down in such a way that I can do the first step from beginning to end without getting up? and without procrastinating. So breaking things down into first step, second step, next step. So really kind of project planning before you get started.
Now, for project planning, do you have a system you use? Do you use like a master folder and a like a what's next list? Or how do you suggest putting a project together so you could, let's say you can break it down to 10 steps. How do you manage it from there?
Yeah, this can be different from for everybody. Some people are very linear thinkers and they'll just create an outline. And I always like to say, start with the end in mind. So, what is it that it needs to look like when it's done? What is the end result? And then work backwards to say, okay, what are the milestones, or what are the ways that we need to get there? What are the things we need to do to know we're halfway done? And then backing it up even further. And that allows you to kind of plot the time out on the calendar as well to make sure that you aren't waiting to the last minute and that you have enough time to get those steps done.
And we don't want to have on our to-do list like write book, right?
Right. That's not right. That's not a single action that you're going to sit down and do, but it could be, a single action to decide on the topic, and maybe that's something that you can do in one setting. I was going to mention also, I mentioned the outline format. Some people who are more creative thinkers or aren't quite as linear are going to do really well with mind mapping and kind of doing things where you put a topic in the center and then mind map out to the edges the various components involved with getting something done.
Okay, so we got that now. What's the next step? Or are there others? There more?
There's more. There's more.
Wait, there's more.
There's more. So in our presentation, what are you waiting for? We've got a slide that comes up and it says, stop farting around. And it's really if you stop doing those things that that you're just using as avoidance strategies. And often that is checking email when we don't really need to be, or time on Facebook, or anything that we're doing, getting up to get yet another snack. When really we're just messing around, we're putting off the inevitable. So that leads to the next one, which is set up rewards. Know how you're going to reward yourself for staying on task and not procrastinating, getting something done. And those things that you might be farting around with, like checking Facebook for fun, or getting up and stretching your legs and going for a walk, we can use those things as small rewards for accomplishing that next step.
What's been a good reward system that you've seen put in place? M&Ms. I mean, what's one that you've seen that works? What kind of reward?
So it depends. Some people don't want to use food as a reward if they've got health habits in mind. So if they've got a goal to be more healthy, I say, get up and go outside your building and walk around the block and use that both as a time to clear your head a little bit, stretch your legs, and get some exercise. And that can be seen as a reward for some people. Others do want just a little something sweet, or time to go to the water cooler and just chat with a coworker, or call a friend if they're in a home office, or get on Facebook. That's a big one for some people, is they want to take a break in their day and getting on Facebook just for fun, to say, hey, if I stick to this for 30 minutes and get this piece done, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes on Facebook for no particular purpose.
Oh, those are great examples. Any more?
Yeah, so I think blocking time is another way to avoid procrastination. So if we can put chunks of time on our calendar that we intend to work on something, and then of course the secret ingredient is to honor that time. Many of us do a great job with the appointments on our calendars, and we certainly use calendars to remember when we need to meet with other people. So it can be used too as a tool to remember when you intend to do something for yourself or for a project.
Now, so far we haven't talked about, and maybe this is one of your points about having other people help you. Is that in your list of things?
It is. Asking somebody to hold you accountable is a really big one. So when we put out there that, hey, I need to finish this PowerPoint for tomorrow, don't let me leave today without getting it done. Someone else might ask, hey, how'd that go today? How are you doing on that? And when we know others know of our goals, we're more likely to act.
Okay.
Yep.
Have we covered it all, or we got more?
I've got one more. Remember, the one thing I said was the number one reason people procrastinate was perfectionism. So
yes.
For those perfectionists out there, I know one mantra that has helped me, and I share it with clients and seminar participants, is this phrase that done is better than perfect. Okay. And I say that unless you're a brain surgeon or doing something otherwise equally as technical and serious, that most of the time truly done is better than perfect. And so if we know that a perfectionist is going to spend an hour on something, and then remember I said 50% of the time getting that last 5 to 10% done, is there a better use for that next hour instead of, you know, perfecting something? And when is 95% good enough? So that done is better than perfect, just remembering that, posting it visibly if you're a perfectionist and you know you procrastinate because you're worried about getting it done enough, that can be a really, really good help.
Whew, well, that is an exhaustive list, and we're going to have to put those in our show notes because there are many. How many was that there? I mean, that was, I think I lost count after about 5.
I think we covered maybe 8 or so.
Okay.
Maybe. Yep.
Good. So we'll have those in our show notes. Debbie, we're about out of time. I want to give you the opportunity to let people know how they can get a hold of you and what kind of services that you can offer people either locally or on a national basis.
Sure. Well, we can be found at our website, which is www.itssimplyplaced.com. That's ITSSIMPLYPLACED.com. And certainly by phone as well. Our general line is 206-579-5743. And we help people both in our residential division get and stay organized at home, and also in our commercial division, we work with employees of companies who are wanting to be more organized and better users of their time at work so they can get more done. Those are services that we provide locally, and we do travel as well. We have clients that will bring us in from various places around the United States. And we also offer services virtually, like we're doing this interview via Skype. And so if somebody has a need and they want some help figuring out ways to get more organized and be more productive with their time, we can set up some virtual sessions via Skype to help them achieve their goals as well.
And you do corporate training and speeches and group presentations as well.
Correct. And yeah, information about that and others can be found on our website. I've got a little book too if someone's looking for just a quick way to get some tips on being more organized and productive. That's found in the shopping cart of our website.
Awesome. Well, we'll link to that as well. Itssimplyplaced.com. Debbie, a pleasure as usual, and I think we'll have to get you back on again sometime.
Sounds good, John. It's a pleasure for me.
All right, the show we've finally been waiting to do on procrastination is now done. We can check that off our list today on keeping you organized.